All right, week 7. Blaine should be joining us here in a second. He's having a little bit of technical difficulty, but we want to get this bad boy kicked off. Had some great action yesterday. Some things went how we thought they were going to go. Some things went how we didn't think, or some of us didn't think that they were going to go. But I'm going to get right to it. We want your questions. We want your comments in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. We really appreciate it. Everybody hit over 100,000 on our way to 200,000 million. And also, if you're in the chat, like the video. Even if you're not in the chat, it obviously helps. And I feel like I've said all I need to say now. So let me bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback, David Cohn. DC, like I said, Blaine's. We got some technical difficulties, but we're gonna get him back in here. Just kind of overall, your thoughts yesterday. You know, we'll get into obviously, Oregon and Washington, USC, Notre Dame, Auburn, LSU, all of it, Florida, South Carolina. But was there an overarching theme for you in week 7 of college football?
Again, teams just continue to separate themselves, and it wasn't just yesterday. I mean, this really started Friday. We saw Colorado up 29-0 on Stanford. Stanford storms back, wins that football game. Even saw some good football games on Thursday night. And then my thought, it's seared into my mind. That's the Notre Dame team I saw playing those first 4 weeks. I don't know what's happened the last 3 weeks, but man, they really came to play. Washington, Oregon, I just soaked up every single play of that football game. I was watching it with my dad. So really some awesome football yesterday. What'd you think?
Man, well, I thought it was a mixture. I think you had some teams that were angry. I think you saw an angry Missouri team playing an angry Kentucky team. But, Notre Dame, that game went exactly, like I had kind of forecasted this week. I felt like you were going to get a pissed off Notre Dame team, that a lot of the pressure was off, for a national championship because they don't play in a conference. And I think it was all around. You look at Audric Estime yesterday, he had about 100 yards on 22 carries, 2 touchdowns. They were able to control the ball, but it was the turnovers that they forced with Caleb Williams. So it was a complete dominant team win yesterday for Notre Dame. And look, I like I've said multiple times, I like Lincoln Riley. I like USC. I've got no personal vendetta against USC. But this team that Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch had looks exactly like every team that Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch has. I don't know how many times I have to say it during the offseason. I don't know how many times I have to say it during the season. At some point, these USC teams fall apart because of lack of physicality, right, and lack of ability to stop the run game and the play action game on defense. So I thought Notre Dame was really balanced. I thought they controlled the game. You're up 24-6 at halftime. You split the third quarter 7-7. You end up winning the fourth 17-7. It was a total domination. Sam Hartman, 13-20, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very, very efficient, no interceptions. But I thought the big play on special teams, obviously, was what kept the separation going. But it was a complete and thorough team beatdown of USC yesterday, who is about who we thought they were, David.
Well, you say this looks like exactly like every Lincoln Riley team we've seen. It was even worse than that, because if that were the case, then we would have been in for a 48-45 shootout. They would have at least played well on the offensive side of the football, and Caleb Williams would have had another 5 touchdown passes, maybe a turnover, but certainly not 3 interceptions. But it was even worse than that, because yes, Notre Dame had their way on offense, but then still, Caleb Williams held to 199 yards, the 3 interceptions in the first half. Like, it's really tough to go into a place like South Bend, especially what they've come off of the last few weeks, turn the ball over like that, and play that way on defense and win a football game.
Yeah, and we've talked about this too. There's always, I don't care if you're the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. I don't care if you're the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. I don't care whatever offense. If you were the Braves this year during the regular season offensively, at some point there comes a couple games where the offense isn't operating at its highest efficiency level. And when that happens, you have to win that game as a team with defense and special teams being able to make up for it. There's always those couple speed bumps for Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch, and this is one of them. But this is a total team loss for USC as well. It's not just on the defense, but man, that game went exactly like I thought it was going to go. And it's almost sad for Notre Dame, David.
Yes, that's what I thought.
You said. That's what I thought. You have that older team, right? And now you look at Louisville, who just went and lost to Pitt. You tried to roll your helmet out there. You went there arrogant and narcissistic, and you got beat on the road at Louisville. And now, yeah, you're playing spoiler, but that type of win, the way that was engineered, that's exactly how Marcus Freeman wants it to go on Saturdays at Notre Dame.
Yep. And
doesn't it look like the formula?
Marcus Freeman needed this one bad. He needed to win a big game. Even if he won by 1 point, that would have been good enough. You just need to win a big time prime time game. Well, forget by 1 point. He absolutely dominated this game. So Marcus Freeman needed that. I still think he needs to go and win a game like at Clemson, something like that, still have a 10-win season. But this is great momentum. But I thought the same thing that you just said. Man, you're even more hurt now if you're Notre Dame, because that's what was possible. Forget losing on the very last play to OSU. That's a really good football team. It hurts when you have 10 men on the field, but so what? Or even losing on the road at Louisville, either one, but you can't lose both of them, especially when you're capable of this sort of dominance. Now, 2 losses, obviously, they've been out of the college football playoff since they lost last weekend. But I'm wondering now, like, where do we go from here? Is USC just going to get exposed on the back half of this schedule, or are they going to rise to the occasion? How's Notre Dame going to move forward now that they've been on both ends of the spectrum? And another thing I've been thinking about is a 12-team playoff that's coming. I mean, when we get a 12-team playoff, this is the type of thing where, Notre Dame has 2 losses, right? One of them on the last play, one of them they got blown out. Now they have a big win over USC. If this team were to go 10-2, are they in the back half of that 12-team playoff conversation that's coming?
Yeah, and obviously don't forget Notre Dame is not in the Pac-12, so this is not a conference loss for USC. Everything they want to do in the Pac-12 with who they're playing, with who they got coming up, including a trip to Oregon, you can flip it right back on its head, and we're going to get to Oregon in the chat in 1 second. So this isn't a death knell by any stretch of the imagination, but it seemed like just schematically yesterday, Notre Dame didn't do anything, David, that was out of the ordinary. They did take a couple shots off play action, which we expected to them. It just seemed like a very balanced attack. They were able to run it when they needed to run it and get the yards they needed. And at some point, it seemed like Notre Dame realized, hey, defensively, we're playing at such a high level. We don't have to go out here and take a bunch of chances offensively. That's why I think you see the pass numbers of Sam Hartman down a little bit. And then you return that kickoff for a touchdown that takes away. You had a couple possessions taken away from the offense that resulted in scores, which I thought that was the correct call by the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, and everybody's going to look at the 3 interceptions, of course, but the 6 sacks as well. Do we have the Dragon?
Boys, can you hear me?
There's the Dragon.
We did
live.
We conquered the morning, fellas.
You did. We
did. Around flying around.
I was just walking around a Best Buy, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, that's always fun. Well, now that you hopped in, Flaming Dragon, real quick thoughts on Notre Dame USC before we move on and get to the chat.
I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. The only thing that kind of surprised me in this game was Caleb Williams just threw 3 interceptions. He looked accelerated the entire game. And Notre Dame got up for this game. They actually showed up. This was a Notre Dame team we expected to see against Louisville. I think they were pissed off. I think Marcus Freeman, I kind of gave him some hell earlier in the week. I think he did a great job getting these guys ready. But here again, I think Alex Grinch is the king of stealing money. Lincoln Riley blows it when it really matters. And Caleb Williams can go ahead and count the Heisman out. You can't throw 3 picks in a huge game and think you're going to come back. With the elite quarterback play, you're getting all around the nation.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm with you. All right, I want to hop into this Oregon game real quick, and then we're going to get to the chat. Remember, if you're in the chat, hit that like button. If you donate, you do get a question asked. But if you want to go grab some merch, that's an even better way to donate. We want to restock that thing and got some really good ideas. But, guys, Oregon-Washington lived up to the billing.
Yeah.
Covered the +3.5. Thank you. But, this game and my whole thing coming in this game was that I feel like Oregon is an elite team overall going to play Washington, who has an elite offense, and the defense was trust but verify. Look, this game was basically a shootout. Let's call it what it is. It may not have been 48-45, but they weren't having trouble moving the ball back and forth. I mean, Bo Nix ends up going 33 for 44, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving runs for 130 yards and a touchdown on 22 carries. Then you look on the other side, Michael Penix Jr., 302 yards, 22 of 37, 4 touchdowns, did have the pick. And Dylan Johnson right at an even 100 and a touchdown. Odunze was huge. Obviously, him and Polk both went over 100 yards. Odunze did it on 8 catches. Troy Franklin. The Stars played well. The Stars played well in this game. It came down to, like it normally does, 3 to 5 plays. Oregon was able to stuff them on 4th down there toward the end of the game. My question is, I don't understand if you're Dan Lanning and there's that much time left and it's 4th and 3. If it was 4th and 1, I get it. Why do you go for it there at midfield and give Washington midfield? I know that they've been able to move the ball, but at some point your defense just got a big stop before that. You have some momentum. worst case, they hit a bomb early in the drive and they're able to score and you get a chance to come down. I know you missed the field goal, but I was shocked that he didn't punt. Oregon, I thought once they got that fourth down stop, I was like, all right, this is gravity coming back into effect. Oregon's going to win this game. Man, it just ended up being a hell of a game, and Oregon came up short. But, man, do you punt that, David?
Man, yeah, I do. I was looking at my dad. I was like, "This is insane." I really thought they were just going to come and try and draw him off sides, but that was like at least he was consistent throughout the game. Somebody at some point has to tell these coaches, and you got both sides. Really, you need to kick field goals. I understand this is the new age where every coach thinks they're the smartest guy on the field, and we have all these analytics. At some point, you got to kick field goals. You know, I mean, and I think Dan Lanning sort of owned that in the post game. He said, "Look, I could have kicked the field goal before halftime. I could have kicked the field goal there in the second half as well." But at least he was consistent, and we've seen him do this throughout the season. He's going to be aggressive. He's trying to win a rivalry game on the road. But, man, this lived up to the hype in every way imaginable. And I'm hoping that everyone in the Booster Club watched this football game because we've been talking about the Pac-12, the final year in existence, and these two teams are both moving to the Big Ten. But, man, it lived up to the hype. I have it on good authority that some parts of your monologue, Jake, made it into the Washington locker room. It was making the rounds about questioning their toughness. And I thought Washington responded. I mean, they did some good things on defense. Now, Oregon was able to move the ball, obviously, on the ground, but so was Washington. That's what kind of surprised me. They were popping off some good runs as well, had a 100-yard rusher. But, yeah, when it comes down to it, you know, it was like 3 to 5 plays, like you said, made the difference.
Blaine?
I don't mind that call at the end of the game. I really don't. I think you're going to try to win the game. That's what you're doing. I mean, 4th and 2, I don't like the play call. I mean, you just can't keep running sprint outs on 4th down. I mean, sooner or later, they're going to figure it out. I was more upset about what he did before halftime than I was.
But see, to me, that's on Bo Nix too, though. Like, you got to know how much time's on the clock. Like, you got. I get called 6 seconds, 6 seconds before half. You semi roll, then you spin out, and then you put one back over across your body that ends up getting tipped. Like,
that's on Dan. You got to kick the field goal. Analytics is not on your side in that you need 3. You're about to go into a halftime. You not getting that 4th down was a huge momentum shift. Huge momentum shift. You take the 3 points, you walk in the halftime. All right, boys, let's get after the second half. I'm not going to be upset about him going to try to win the game on a 4th and 2. I don't like the play call that was called, but I think he knew, I think we knew, and I think everybody knew if you put that ball back in Michael Penix's hands, he's going to go down and get some points.
I mean, I get it. Like, I get being aggressive, but that was, I mean, it was a 4th and a long 3. Like, you know, to hindsight's always 20/20. You can say, oh, you should have got downhill, whatever. But your defense just got to stop, right? They just got to stop. You're up 4 points. They have to score a touchdown. And I'm trying to remember. I don't remember how many timeouts Washington had left, but I don't think it was a lot. I think they had one, something like that. So now you're going to have to drive, you know, with a short amount of time, the full length of the field. Not saying that Washington can't do it, but you know what they're going to do. You've watched what they've done throughout the game. I just feel like that's where you lean on. If it was Washington and the roles were reversed and you were going to have to stop Oregon, I could totally understand going for it. I felt like, you know, coming off that last defensive possession, it was just, I don't know, it was kind of desperate when you didn't have to be. But look, I would rather go down being aggressive than go down being, not knowing.
Listen to this stat line here. It's very rare you see something like this. Oregon, more first downs, more efficient on 3rd down, more total yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards, fewer turnovers, tie in penalties, and they won the time of possession. It's very rare you see a team lose a game like that. I didn't see anything from either one of these teams that was so alarming that I thought they couldn't still compete in the postseason. I think the champion of the Pac-12 will come out of this game. I still think we could have a sort of situation like Texas and Oklahoma. Maybe this is a rematch in the conference championship, and Oregon could avenge this loss. Maybe Washington still goes on and goes undefeated, makes the college football playoff. Obviously, the way that the teams were the defenses were getting rushed on, that's something that you still have to continue to grow throughout the season. But I think either one of these teams could make the college football playoff.
Yeah. Washington's got Arizona State at home, at Stanford, at USC, Utah at home, at Oregon State, and Washington State at home. So, I mean, At
They'll be
USC
favored
is
in all
tough, but they should be favored in every single one of those games, including the Apple Cup at the end of the year, especially after what just happened in Washington State. Goodness gracious, against Arizona at home. But
Wow.
I want to get to the chat.
I was going to Brad David, the man with 2 first names, $5 donation. Thank you, sir. Says, what are the reasons Texas A&M continues to struggle, even though they have so much talent?
Man, this game to me, it went about like we thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
Right? It went about like we thought it was going to go. It was ugly. It was not going to be high scoring. Right? You had a team in A&M that's really good in shutting down the run in the front seven. But what do we say, David? If there was any team that we think could pierce this front seven for A&M a little bit, it's Tennessee and the style that they run and the depth that they have.
Yep.
Jalen Wright last night, 19 carries, 136 yards. Jabari Small, 12 carries, 42 yards. Even Joe Milton got into the act, obviously off the zone read stuff. He had 34 yards, and then Sampson ran for 25. This Tennessee team ran for 232 yards on Texas A&M. Joe Milton did not make the routine throws routine last night, David. He didn't. He didn't.
Yeah.
11 to 22, 100 yards, touchdown, interception, made a couple throws down the field. But at the end of the day, I mean, this another game where you felt like A&M, who was up at halftime again in an SEC game, then goes and scores 3 points in the second half. But you got to take your hat off to Tennessee's defense. But I thought Max, you said Caleb looked a little sped up, Blaine. Max looked really sped up to me.
No, I thought Max. I'll just quickly, David. You can go ahead. I thought Max played okay. He needs to stop taking so much time in the pocket.
Yes.
There's multiple times where his clock has to go off sooner or later, and it's like at some point you go back to last week too, and he was doing the same thing.
Yep.
So I thought they played better. I think this game was hideous. If you watch this was not a pretty football game. I don't think these are two great teams. I mean, Joe Milton had 40 yards passing halfway through the third, and you still beat an A&M team. But Max has got to speed it up in his head. I thought he did a great job distributing the ball to Moose and Anais. Not as much to his brother, which I was okay with. But, man, I don't know if anybody really won coming out of this game.
And what you're saying is not new. Max Johnson needs to get the ball out of his hand faster. That's something we've been saying not only for the past couple of weeks, but also last year as well. And it's not like Bobby Petrino's offense doesn't have hot routes built into the scheme, right? So, look, that's why nothing in this game was really that surprising to me, except I didn't think Tennessee would rush for quite as many yards. I mean, 232 is significant. But while Joe Milton wasn't that efficient, his ability to take the top off the defense is one of those things that can open up the run game as well. I wanted to pull up the rest of Texas A&M's schedule here. So now they have South Carolina at home. They go to Ole Miss. They have Mississippi State at home, Abilene Christian, and then they go on the road to LSU. And they're sitting here 4-3 already. I mean, how's this thing going to finish up for Texas A&M?
Smells like 7-5. Smells like 7-5.
And what happens then, Jake?
Look, David, I hadn't really been in sports media long enough to sit here and say, all right, next year is A&M's year. I've been pointing to 2024 as when you think it would all come together, especially if Wegman can stay healthy. And I know that's like year 8 in Jimbo's tenure. But at this point, I mean, do you feel like you almost have to make a change if you're someone in charge at A&M just because you are watching the same movie over and over again over a long period of time, and nothing seems to get it. You're not changing the way you lose. A&M loses almost the exact same way. You know, if it was something where you were just catching some horrible breaks, like a lot, right? Or if it was something where you just lost a shootout where the offense looked elite, but you couldn't stop anybody, or they're losing in the exact same ways. Every game is ugly. Everything is a struggle. It just, at some point, do you have to change something because it is the exact same movie? And the quarterback play is just okay, right? There's not a ton of explosives in the offensive game. You get a lead, then it feels like you play conservative, and then you lose it. But how many times can you get friend zoned, A&M? How many times? How many is it going to take? How many times can the girl put you in the friend zone before you got to change your approach? You got to go buy a brand new outfit. You got to start trying to be more outgoing or something. Like, it's every year, David. It's every big game. Every big scenario that A&M outside of Bama, once every 3 years?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It does feel like this game would have played out differently if Connor Wegman was at quarterback. And I'm just wondering how many times that's going to continue to work as an excuse. Well, we had an injury at an important position. I mean, we saw that with what Zach Calzada down the stretch after the Alabama game a couple years ago. I think he was banged up, and then
3
obviously
straight
they
years.
went with Haynes King last year, and Max Johnson took the job. I like Max Johnson, but yeah, I mean, look, Connor Wegman won that job for a reason. I think they have a chance to win that football game yesterday if Connor Wegman's the quarterback, but he's not, and you lost. And you're exactly right on. They continue losing in the same ways. I mean, Blaine, what do you see here? If it's 7-5 at the end of the year, what's going to happen?
No, man. Say next year, baby. Next year's the year. 10 wins. Sooner or later, A&M just got to get realistic about who they are. I've never seen two teams who needed a win so bad make so many stupid mistakes. It was a bad game to watch. But what do you do? I mean, if you're A&M, you're going to get rid of Jimbo and go get who?
I think that they go get Mike Elko.
Really?
Or they make a run at Urban.
You think Urban go to A&M?
I think he'd go to A&M.
That's interesting. I don't know. Maybe they have
a
lot of money
every time a job opens up. But again, like here's my. At some point, it's not if you were like in the middle or maybe in the lower third of what coaches are making, like A&M is accepting losing. Like, and I'm not saying they've been this powerhouse. They haven't won since 1939, but it's almost just like a team that's just happy with going winning 8 or 9 games. Right, like one of those programs. It's like, hey, we won 8 games. Got like Purdue. Purdue wins 8 games. Hey guys, wow, that's amazing. 9 wins. You won 9 football games out of 12. That's insane at Purdue. This is Texas A&M. You're paying him basically half the vault of gold to lose in the same way every single time. Like this, it's almost like a purgatory, right? Like you're just sitting in a movie theater. If purgatory was a movie theater, just watching just Casablanca over and over again. Oh, I know what's going to happen. And it just you're paying him too much for this. Like let's be honest. So either you go in there after this year, if it's 7-5, and say, all right, Jimbo, we're going to Jim Harbaugh this situation, or Scott Frost it. We want some of our money back, and this is your last chance.
Casablanca is a classic, by the way, so we'll have no Casablanca slander.
Well, I'm just saying I've never seen him before. So,
all right, let's go to Broken Devil Dog. He says, well, Michigan is handling business against its cupcake opponents. Can't say the same about those Georgia Bulldogs.
We're into the Big Ten schedule now. I don't want to hear more cupcake schedule. We're playing the conference schedule now at this point.
And Indiana came out little wide receiver throwback pass.
It was
get the trick play out of the way early, guys.
Then they brought the trolls out of the dungeon to stomp them out. Look, Michigan handling business. I will say, wow, Drake puts on some Georgia gear. Brock Bowers gets hurt.
Ankle sprain.
Coincidence?
That's not good.
Tried to tell you on Friday.
To
tell y'all. But look, Vandy came out and scored early. Georgia looked to me like they thought they were playing Vanderbilt. That's what it looked like to me. Biggest
what worried
thing is
me when I took them.
Yeah, the biggest thing is Brock Bowers' health. Obviously, moving forward, coming out of that game, Vanderbilt put up a decent fight, but they didn't cover, but they handled business. On the road, Indiana went into the big house. We're gonna find out, believe me. So it's
Ladd McConkey looked good though.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, no one's worried about him. No one's worried. Worried about the white witch running around.
Well, he's been hurt though.
The Ice King.
He's still on a snap count somewhat. I don't think they played him as much as they could have. He's still banged up. So.
I'm not worried about Georgia.
Let's go to Jared Grubbs. He said, "Can I get your thoughts on the OK State beating Kansas?"
Oklahoma State finding some offense, right?
Yeah.
I know Bean. You knew this was going to be high scoring. I should have took that over as one of my bets, especially watching Oklahoma State versus Kansas State last week offensively. But I mean, again, Gundy's kind of found something. It's you look at Kansas. Their defense is going to be great. It's just unfortunate Jalen Daniels continues to be hurt, but it's not like they can't score points. They just can't stop anybody. They're diet USC. So I'm glad for Gundy. I like Mike Gundy. I know a lot of people don't like him. I like him. I don't have a problem with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just calls it like he sees it. But no, Oklahoma State kind of raising from the dead a little bit, getting ready for Bedlam at the end of the year, David.
Son.
Not even the end of the year.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Not even
That's
the
right.
end of the year. Yeah, it's in a couple weeks, I think.
I know. But no, it's shout out to Mike Gundy. And it's amazing. You finally pick a quarterback and just go with him. I know he's 48 years old, but it tends to help.
I was going to Jay Tibbs with a $5 donation. Jay, thank you, sir. He says, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you, sir. Made some money on that Stanford-Colorado game, so here's your share. Question, does Arkansas with a healthy Rocket Sanders beat Alabama?
Man, what a weird game this was.
Weird.
Like, you just, Arkansas kind of controlled it early. Cam Little made a couple field goals. Then Bama hit the deep pass, and all of a sudden, it started looking like about how we thought this game was going to go. Here comes Bama. They're leaning on them. Arkansas going to struggle to score. Go into halftime up 21-6. And then in the second half, this Bama team, and it's a great luxury to be able to go through this growing stage or phase or whatever you want to call it while you're winning. But in pass pro, man, I'm telling you, they've got some serious problems. And Jalen Milroe isn't just taking off. There are times where I think, and he's gotten hot through the air, made some good throws yesterday. I know there's a couple he wanted to have back. But does it feel like to anybody else that Jalen Milroe just needs to go sometimes in the pocket? I feel like he's holding on to the ball too long, and he's creating some of these sacks instead of saying, listen, we can consider you a great pocket passer or a good pocket passer, but if you don't like it early, take off. I know they're trying to protect him a little bit, but it just felt like yesterday he just had something to prove by just wanting to stand in the pocket the whole time instead of saying, you know what, take off. There's an avenue, even if you escape north up through the pocket, where you can get Alabama into 2nd and 6. Was that the only one that was like go, when he was in the pocket?
It's interesting you say it because the first few weeks we thought he was abandoning his progression too quickly. Remember, he would look at that first read, and if it wasn't there, it was sort of duck and try and get out of the pocket and all those kind of things. It's like, no, you have to work through the progression. Again, I'm not just going to keep talking every single week about the way that I would call this Alabama offense. Sometimes it gets frustrating, but then you look and they're having success and they're up 24-6 and he's throwing well from the pocket. And it's like, okay, look, these guys are Alabama. They know what they're doing. And then all of a sudden 3 straight 3-and-outs, and the guy on the other side of the ball, KJ Jefferson, say what you will about Arkansas' season so far this year, that kid can play quarterback, leads 2 long drives. All of a sudden they find themselves in the football game 24-21, and you're having to hang on at the very end to beat an Arkansas team at home. So I don't know, but they still find themselves 6-1 if you're Alabama. That's the thing. It's so perplexing. I think we're going to find out a lot more when LSU comes to town. We circled that at the beginning of the year for very different reasons than I'm circling it for now. I didn't think LSU would be so bad on defense. I didn't think Alabama would look this way on offense. But, again, we're going to find out a lot more information that weekend.
Let's go to Sean Ketstever with the $6 donation. Shawnee, appreciate it, brother. He says, Beavs win 6-1. Defense and offense were on point. USC loss. I told y'all USC was overrated. The Beavs have a bye and bring on Zona.
Yeah, look, as the only one that picked Oregon State on the pick 'em show, I was happy to see this. That game was way more high scoring than I thought it was going to be.
Tell me about it.
And I thought, Oregon State really kind of from the jump, it established their physicality, and UCLA's been winning with physicality, right? We talked all week about how Chip Kelly's kind of winning backwards. Not that he don't want his teams to be physical, but he's typically not a defensive-laden team that tries to protect the quarterback offensively. But it kind of got to the point, it seemed, where Oregon State got up by enough points where you had to take that security blanket off. And when that happened, you open him up to mistakes. But a big win. Again, Jonathan Smith, we've been beating the Oregon State drum, right, all year. And did their defense play perfect this week? And me and Blaine had a back and forth about Oregon State's defense this week. No, but they played good enough. And I think it's such a perfect fit for DJU. But this team offensively, just like all the great ones are, is built through their offensive line. That's who they're built through. And when Oregon State, they kind of smell blood. I don't know how ferocious of an animal a beaver is. I'm guessing it's not a carnivore. I'm not seeing beavers out there, tackle.
Seem to be plotting most of the time.
Yeah, they do seem to be plotting. If there's more than 3 of them, next to each other, I don't trust it. It's like squirrels. But But it seems to me that this Oregon State team does have an identity. I think they are physical, but I think they also offensively can get it going enough where they can win in a shootout, against a USC who's going to be able to score, or an Arizona team right now that Jed Fish has rocking and rolling. But I do real quickly want to get back to Alabama and Arkansas, because I did think KJ played well. Arkansas only ran for 100 yards. Bama did rush for 177. Thought the run game looked a little bit better with Jason McClellan. But my whole point was I think there has to be a happy medium, David, somewhere with Jalen Milroe, right? Like you watch, and I know Jaden Daniels has a lot more experience than he does, but there are plays where Jaden McDaniels gets to that first read, realizes it's man coverage, knows he can escape, and he's gone. Like I feel like Jalen Milroe's kind of got to blend that in, and that's a learning process, because I'm sure, just like we were talking about, the coaches were telling him earlier in the year, you have got to get through your second read. But at what point are you like, hey, Jalen, listen, if you're diagnosing a coverage in man pre-snap, all right, and it works out in that coverage, and you think you can escape early, that is such a weapon to have with him. Or, hey, it's 3rd and 6, right? It's a zone coverage, whether you've identified that pre-snap or in the middle of the snap. There's room to run after your first read where we know you can run and go take off and get the first down. Go get it, because it's not like he's extending the play outside of the pocket. He's and again, this is not a awful problem to have. He's extending the play only from within the pocket as an athletic guy, and that just makes it easier to get him on the ground. That's my whole point.
Sure.
Like Jalen Milroe should be harder to get on the ground than he is right now.
Look, and Jaden Daniels kind of looked like that early in his career at Arizona State, too. He's a fifth-year senior. He's grown. Jalen Milroe's really young. I just keep going back to the way that Oklahoma and Dylan Gabriel attacked that same Texas defense that Alabama lost to. Dylan Gabriel, they were cooking them through short passes. They were, they took their shots when they had them, but also 113 yards, I think Dylan Gabriel rushed for in that game against the same Texas defense that really Milroe, they weren't calling any quarterback design runs. On the Oregon State thing, though, man, DJ Uiagalelei looked really good. He has all of the tools and the capability to be an elite football player and to play quarterback at the highest level. So shout out to Oregon State for what they did. I have no idea how this game was so high scoring, though, with the way that we've been watching UCLA play defense. And UCLA actually had 287 yards of rushing. On the thing with Dante Moore, I get it for Chip Kelly. You got your 5-star guy. You recruited him. You see that as the future. You're trying to build up to that. Let him, the growing pains, let him take his reps. But if he's going to throw interceptions and turn the football over every single drive, and not just interceptions, but pick sixes, we saw this in the Utah game. We saw it again yesterday. You either have to play someone else at the position, okay, because there are seniors on this team. This is their last year playing football, or just don't throw the ball. Just run the ball every play, go 3 and out when you have to, and give your defense a chance, because at some point you're just turning the football over.
Without a doubt. I want to tell everybody, make sure in the chat, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, go and hit that subscribe button. We do a live weekday show every morning, weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. It stays on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Daily Wire Plus, all that great stuff. Make sure and get your questions in. All right, Blaine, what else we got?
I was going to CG87343, $5 donation. Thank you. Says, of the top 5 teams of the top 25, who's most vulnerable, who's the strongest, and Beavers are extremely mean if cornered. I believe that last thing 100%.
Nothing. Angry Beaver. I'm one of my favorite shows growing up, but no, it's I don't trust them. I don't trust anything that builds houses out of wood and congregates more than 4 people. That's why I don't trust anybody from Oregon. Obviously I got Michigan Michigan and Georgia interchangeable at 1 and 2 to me still. Florida State, I thought looked really good. I know Syracuse isn't the greatest team of all time, but coming off the game against Virginia Tech, I thought Florida State, made some plays down the field with some guys that are beat up like them as well. You got to put Washington in the top 5, right? It's are we ready to go ahead, and we had Oregon 5 in our top 5? So I'm sitting here looking at it. It's I think you got to start talking about. Texas obviously moving up, even though they lost to Oklahoma, which will move Bama into the top 10. I don't know. I need to really sit down and look at it, but I don't think outside of Oregon, right? We didn't have USC. Well, we had USC in our top 10. They snuck in there last week. But I mean, I think in the top 5, only Oregon's the one that is going to be bounced, and I still believe in Oregon.
Yeah, that game would be really interesting neutral site. Let's go to Will Hewitt with the $5 donation. Thank you, Will. Says, love you guys. Love you, Will. Recap show always hits. Was that Notre Dame USC last night? What a great environment. USC is Charmin soft. But boys, we all knew this.
Well, it's again, if you listen to Crane & Company, we told you all week this is going to be a pissed off Notre Dame team that was coming out. Like this, we hear this term "dream crusher spot," right? You hear it. Oh, their dreams are crushed. Oh, Clemson, lost to Florida State. Dreams are crushed. Got to go up to Syracuse. Everybody's just, Syracuse. What does Clemson do? Probably come put their best game together. Look, there's something about getting that, and you don't want this, but that pressure being gone, because it's like the stages of denial, right? What are the stages of grief? What's the first one? It's like denial. It's like, nope, didn't happen. Nope, didn't happen. We didn't lose that. This is why, whatever. What's the second one? The second one is anger, right? So I think you get to that second point for that next game. It's anger. It's pure anger because now you're out of it. So what is the best way to get rid of anger? When you play football, it's a great way to get rid of anger. I promise you, every Saturday, especially playing defense, being able to go down there and lay the wood and make somebody else feel it. I want you to be angry like me. Therefore, you're going to feel my pain. So they just ran into the second stage, man. The second stage of grief. Finally, do what?
Let's go to M. Dutchy. Listen to this take. I love it. Pac-12D is awful. DJ, Bo, and Penix were terrible QBs in strong defensive conferences.
Well, I mean,
Michael Penix Jr. was great at Indiana.
Yeah, then why didn't Florida pee a drop against Utah? Like
those guys are older now too. I mean, you give somebody 6 and 7 years to be in college, like eventually they'll figure it out.
Look, the Pac-12's got the best conference in college football this year. They do. They do. At least to this one, I think you have to say, if you're being honest, right? Now, like we've said on the show, that doesn't mean the SEC is not going to get the most NFL draft picks in the first 2 rounds this year. But the formula we came up with, or that at least I came with, that we talked about, when you're trying to figure out which is the best conference, right, is do you have a champion, okay, that comes out of there? Is the national champion coming out of your conference? You have to look at it, right? You have to look at strength top to bottom, right? From the top to the bottom. Are you top heavy? Are you kind of thin with good teams? And then the third one is the NFL draft, right? I think from top to bottom, right now, the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football. Now, will they have the champion that comes out of there? I think there's a decent possibility. There's also a possibility they could cannibalize themselves. So I don't believe that saying, oh, well, you went from – it's not like they went down a division. It's not like they went from Alabama to, to Central Arkansas. Now you're playing, FCS or whatever, so our lower FBS. So I don't buy into that. If that was the case, then how is Graham Mertz throwing for 300 and 400 yards at Florida when he came in from Wisconsin in the Big Ten, like in the SEC, if that's the case? Like, I just don't think you can do that. I don't think it works out like that. I think it's all circumstantial.
All right, let's go to CG87343 with another $2 donation. Appreciate it, buddy. Coney, do you think Michigan can go all the way?
Look, they have all the tools to be able to do so, and their roster is as deep as it's ever been. But this was kind of like what we said about Georgia 2 seasons ago when we were in the College Football Hall of Fame when they lost the SEC championship game against Alabama. You have to prove it to me before I can go out on a limb and say, hey, you're going to be the national champion, right? And now Georgia back-to-back seasons has proven, hey, we're that guy. We're the top dog. That's why you see them getting the benefit of the doubt when these polls come out every week. And to me, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that. That's how it should be. So Michigan needs to move forward, handle their business, and look, they're going to get Penn State down the stretch. They're going to get their biggest rival, and before all that, this week, boys, Michigan State for the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Michigan State blew it against Rutgers.
Oh my God, that game was insane.
Blew it.
Absolutely insane. It's a roller coaster ride. $10 donation from William Worthington.
Willie Worthington's father was a baker.
Said, how about that Troy Trojan defense?
Dude.
10 total points given up in the past 3 games.
And they have a wide receiver that is an alien. Have you seen this dude? Like the catches he makes, they're insane. I'm trying to remember his name. I think he's number 9. I'm telling you, if you get on a Saturday, maybe your team's not playing yet, you're cruising around, and Troy's on, watch this receiver they have. I'm just telling you, you're going to see him in the league. Like, he's nice. Like, mitts. I'm talking about, like big Pokemon-sized hands.
Did y'all
like,
see
I'm
that
telling
Benson kid catch that ball at Florida State? What was his name? Not the –
you talking about
is it Coleman?
not Keon Coleman?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, with the one hand.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alien.
Yeah.
God.
Alien.
Still though.
Are you talking about Kimani Vidal?
At
Or
Troy?
are you talking about Damian Taylor?
I think it's Kamani Vidal.
Kamani
What number?
Vidal?
Do you have the number? Do you have the number next to him? I think
He
he's 9.
is number – no, this kid's number 28. Oh, you're talking about – hold on. Are you talking about
I'm telling
Jabari
you.
Barber?
Jabari Barber.
Yeah.
Jabari
That's
Barber,
it.
number
That's
1? He's number 1.
Yeah, that's it, dude.
Yeah.
Just like
From
every time
Dothan.
I watch Troy, I'm like, it's like Billy Madison. It's like when he's oh boy plays the trombone. Or he's like, he's good.
From
Like,
Dothan,
every time I
Alabama.
watch him. It's
I
from
was gonna
Dothan.
poke-
Makes
He had
sense.
4 he had 4 receptions yesterday for 138.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Dude, no, David, I'm telling you, I've been
And
watching
no
this cat all
touchdowns.
year. I've been watching this cat all year. It's just stupid. It's like he's trying to invent stuff. Still, though, Pearsall from Florida's got the best catch of the year.
Man, Pierce
Still the best
down the
catch
stretch
of the year.
yesterday. Down the stretch. You put
Dude,
you put an
do you want to
NFL
go ahead and talk
guy.
about this one before Auburn?
I mean,
'Cause
shout
know-
out to Florida, man.
bro. South
Graham
Carolina
Mertz
fans,
is out
y'all
here
gotta
breaking
come in
personal
here.
records.
South Carolina fans. I went on Spurs Up yesterday, and I said, this is what's going to happen in this game. Here's what's going to happen. Doom, and South Carolina's going to win. Everything that I said was going to happen happened, and South Carolina blew it at the end. They had that huge block field goal, right? That had basically won them the game. There was your special teams play. Spencer Rattler said he's going to throw over 275 plus and at least 2 touchdowns. 23 of 30, 313, 4 touchdowns, right? Just South Carolina. Al yesterday, when I was watching that game, because I was fascinated by this matchup, right? Thought it was going to be high scoring. Florida ends up winning 41-39. Grant, defensively, we talked about how bad both these teams are, right, up front. In general, is that Florida was better than South Carolina was in the front 7 on defense, right? And having said that, South Carolina did outrush Florida, almost doubled them up in rushing yards. But Graham Mertz drops a 423 piece with 3 tuds and no picks and Cajun fries and some of those nuggies, Blaine. I mean, goodness gracious, at some point, I'm sitting there watching them flinging around. And I'm like, who is this team from Florida? Like, it's so un-Billy Napier. Like, I'm used to watching them line up in pistol, have a quarterback that can run some quick game, take some shots off play action, be able to break tendencies because they're staying in pistol and they're not overloading one side, telling you where they're going. But it just seemed like every time Florida had to have a play, I know they got lucky on the tip ball at the end. But, dude, you scored – Blaine, listen to this. Florida scored 10 in the first, 14 in the second, 3 in the third, 14 in the fourth. You scored double digits 3 out of 4 quarters on the road at South Carolina. That's how you win.
Look, man, at this point, Graham Mertz, I mean, is he him? Is Graham Mertz him?
He's a guy.
Is he him? He's not
Graham
hurt, but
Mertz?
is he him? I'm not even talking about abbreviations. Is he the man? Is Graham turning into the man?
But Blaine, was this more about Graham Mertz in Florida or is it more about South Carolina?
I would say this is more about Graham Mertz at Florida.
Really?
I
think
would.
so?
I know South Carolina's not great on defense, but I didn't think Graham Mertz from Wisconsin. Y'all remember watching him?
423 though,
Dropping
3 touchdowns.
4
Florida
bills on
fans were
kids.
ready to get rid of this guy a couple
Blaine,
weeks ago.
4 bills.
I don't think this man threw for 423 yards his whole career at Wisconsin.
No, it's
He
not. It's
didn't
a
even
personal
believe it.
record. It's a personal record. Look,
Yeah.
when guys are wearing 15 jerseys, Florida 15 jerseys around, it's not going to be because of Graham Mertz, right? That's the Tim Tebow
Yeah,
thing.
not
He's
a
not
great
going to
number
be
to
a
pick.
guy who's etched in Florida history, but this is as big of a win for Billy Napier as it is a
Huge.
bad of a
Huge.
loss for Shane Beamer at South Carolina for the same reasons, because last year with South Carolina, they were able to offset sort of this midseason by huge wins, right? The Tennessee win and the Clemson win, huge wins, and you build into the offseason and have a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail. Well, this season, like you're going to get Clemson every year at the end of the schedule, and that's always going to be a big win. So maybe they can replicate that. But now you already have losses to Georgia and Tennessee. Granted, they were able to keep the Georgia game somewhat close for 3 quarters, but you have to win these sorts of games against a Florida program who you know is going to be looking good in the future. When you do catch them in a year that's quote unquote a down year, that's where you have to beat them to me. And you have Spencer Rattler at quarterback.
Yeah. Well, look, I caught a lot of hell when I predicted South Carolina to go 5-7 this year. So looking like 5-7 may be a gift when you look at the rest of the schedule. But here's my thing for South Carolina. If I'm Spencer Rattler at this point, I can't do anything else. I'm doing all I can do, guys. The 2 most important players to their team, without a doubt, one of them will be in the Heisman race, the other one won't. Drake May from North Carolina and Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. Without them, you have nothing. But if I'm Clayton White and I'm South Carolina, and it's a lot easier said than done. If I'm playing Florida, I'm saying, all right, the whole goal defensively is I'm going to try and make you win with what you're bad at, right? I'm going to make you try and dribble with your left. You know the one guy that's not going to beat me? If Eugene Wilson and Trevor Etienne beat me, then they beat me with the backup center in Florida's offensive line. If Eugene Wilson beats me in the passing game as a young guy that we know is talented, that's, you know what? All right. If Boardingham or Jackson or Hanson or even Montreal Johnson coming out of the backfield beat me in the passing game, all right, that's just, it is what it is. You know who's not going to beat me?
Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah.
Your only
and he did.
option. Ricky went for 10, $166, and a touchdown, and you knew they were throwing to him.
He's a Sunday guy, man.
You knew they were throwing to him, David.
He's a Sunday player.
Shut him down. Not saying he's going to get 3 catches for 8 yards, but if you hold the man to 75 yards on 6 catches, you win the game. But every time Florida needed it, every single time, they went to him. They went to him, and it was smart. It was smart. It's not like the run game was cooking either, and play action was beautiful.
He's a pro player, man.
50 yards, David.
He's a pro player, and that just shows you what happens late in games when you have an NFL guy on your team and you get him the football. But here's the thing for Florida. 5-2 right now, guys. I mean, like, you just have to, like, hats off, giving them applaud. Now, you get Georgia now, all right? We know that's a neutral site game. Arkansas in the Swamp. You have to think Florida will be favored. Winnable. You go on the road to LSU. You go on the road to Missouri, and then you get Florida State at home. So what's the ceiling here now that we sit here mid-season?
I think you're looking at 7-5. They're 5-2 right now. I mean, I think I think you beat Arkansas at home, and then I think you have a shot. Florida State, it's a rivalry game. You get that in the Swamp, I believe you said.
No, they get sorry, at the Swamp. Yeah.
At the Swamp.
Yeah.
I think ceiling, if we're gonna say best case scenario, 8-4, which would be an incredible year for Billy this year. I know that's weird to say that at Florida. It smells like 6-6, which is, again, with the way it started at Utah, with how it's going. Here's a bigger question, because Billy's safe. Both these coaches are safe. But if you're South Carolina, like, all right, Satterfield was the one who fell on the sword last year. Right, the OC, he's gone, went over to Nebraska. Can't believe Matt Rule and them hired him, to be honest with you. So now this year, do you think South Carolina with Shane Beamer fires Clayton White if it doesn't get any better? Because I'm looking, let me pull up South Carolina's schedule right here. And if I'm a South Carolina fan, I'm super nervy. So next week you go to Missouri, okay? Then you go to A&M. Then you get Jacksonville State at home and Vandy, right? 2 games you should win. Last 4 games are at home. You get Kentucky at home. That's looking more winnable. And then Clemson at home. It's a rivalry game. You never know. So if you drop your next 2, all right, and you're looking at, what, 2-6? You got Jacksonville State, Vandy, 4-6. Kentucky and Clemson, you split one of those. That's 5-7. I mean, Shane's to the point now where, I mean, you're having to make coordinator moves when you don't have good years now. You're that late into your tenure at South Carolina, even though I'm telling you, it's still going to work out with Shane Beamer. Trust me on that.
Yeah, could you split Missouri, Texas A&M, and maybe split Kentucky, Clemson, and hold the advantage on Jacksonville State and Vanderbilt? 2, 3, 4.
Look, Jacksonville State's not going to be a walk in the park either.
That'd get you to 6-6.
No,
Blaine, what do you think?
I think, I agree with you. 5-7. They're not that good of a football team. I mean, Spencer, and it sucks for Spencer. especially one, you're playing on a bad football team, and two, the amount of elite QB play that's around college right now. So Spencer kind of gets put down a little bit, not really shot up in the spotlight. I think as much as he could be, because if you go back to last year, a guy who took a lot of jumps, a lot of steps, is Spencer Rattler.
Oh, without a doubt. I agree with that.
All right, let's go to Lee Thompson with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, Lee. Says, hey, can Mel Tucker's girlfriend give Jimbo Fisher a call? Lee. Lee. He dog.
That's bad.
That's a good Lee. That's a good
wow.
one. That's a good one.
All right, let's go to Anthony Long with the $5 donation. Will Auburn only SEC wins be Mississippi State and Vandy?
Yeah, look, this is a great segue into this game. All right, here. Typically I talk first. Blaine, I want you to go first.
It's been a lot of rare moments as an Auburn fan where I watched the game and felt embarrassed watching it. And I think there's a difference. Obviously, I don't think we have great players. I knew Peyton Thorne wasn't the guy since the day he stepped on campus at Auburn. Robbie Ashford's a receiver. We still have a lot of great personnel right now. The difference of not having good players and not giving effort, not having heart. That second half of that game, I saw a lot of guys quit. A lot of guys quit. And look, you can beat us and you can beat us bad. But I will always be the type of guy where at the end of the day, you're going to have to drag me off that field because I'm going to give it everything I have. And as a coach and as a fan, you can live with that. But something I can't live with and something I can't be okay with is watching guys in moments when you're down, knew you're not going to win, make business decisions, not go all out. If that stuff starts happening, that's when it becomes different. I go back to a team. I don't know if you remember. The last time I was embarrassed watching a football team was when Jeremy Johnson was at Auburn. It was disgusting. It's not great. But those guys played hard. They really did. I watched this team. They'll get down quick. It seems individual. Like Robbie and Peyton, the relationship seems what can I do? What can I do? Not what can we do? And I think it shows it on the field. And I think you come out, you have 7 points at halftime against one of the worst defenses in the nation. It's inexcusable. I got to a point where last night I was out with my buddies. I had to come home. I was so mad. If you're bad, you're bad, but you better be bad with effort.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say, and I've said this, since the beginning of the year. This is the worst team that Hugh Freeze is going to have at Auburn, and you can't go down and get jumped out of the gate, right? 17-0 in the first quarter. You're a run-first team going against one of the worst defenses that in the country. Not that they have bad players. I don't think LSU has bad players. I think they've just been playing bad. But you got thoroughly beaten in every aspect of the game. Offensively, in the pass game, the run game, the protection game. Defensively, pass game, run game. And I'll get into that in a second. Yeah, I think you got beat schematically, and I think you got beat effort-wise. You got beat. Auburn got beat in every aspect last night. Now, it will get better for Auburn down the road as they get better players. The question I have to start asking again, and the last time Auburn went on the road and played was at A&M, and I thought Peyton Thorne turned down the smoke. You're running out of bounds, a yard short on fourth down. Yeah, can't play here.
Yep,
can't play here. No, can't play here, especially after what we saw against A&M. You can't play here. If you're scared, go to church. This place isn't for you. That I made my mind up on Peyton Thorne when I saw that. I don't think you can play him anymore. I don't know what type of message that sends to your team. I watched Cade Klubnik slide one time accidentally. And you watch the way Cade plays. I mean, he's going head first in the half of it. And he realized his mistake instantly. I just don't know how you turn the tape on and that guy can be your leader anymore. And look, is Robbie Ashford the greatest quarterback ever? No, he's not. It was 3 or 4 last night, 52 yards and a touchdown. It does give you a better running option. Say what you want about Robbie. He's not going to run out of bounds, a yard short on fourth down, be scared to take a hit. That was probably the most disappointing thing that I saw, and I'm sure that Coach Freeze and the coach staff will address that. You've got to find a way to. I don't think Peyton can be the guy going forward either going into next year. He can't do it. The Auburn receivers are going to get better. Winning this game, I said I don't know how you I don't think you stop LSU, and I think Hugh Freeze was right in his press conference that you just trying to hold them to field goals. But you really saw where Auburn's pass rush just isn't good. Isn't good. They have some guy, the young kid Falk, I think has a chance. Marcus Harris, a good player. Outside of that, they really don't have anybody that can rush the passer at this level. That's something they're going to have to address. And when you can't do that against a dynamic player like Jane Daniels, there are teams that can rush the passer, and he uses it against them and hurts you. But it looked like a fun night to be Jane Daniels last night. You go 20 of 27 for 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jaden ran 11 times for 93 yards. LSU racked up 238 rush yards, 325 pass yards. You had Kyron Lacey, which is good news for them, go over 100 yards. You had 3 different guys with a touchdown catch. Just a lot better team that played a lot harder. But I was just really disappointed by the physicality and Peyton Thorne again on the road coming off as soft. I don't think you can play at Auburn and have that mentality. This isn't Michigan State.
Okay, any thoughts?
Auburn fans are going to have a lot of fun watching this Hugh Freeze-led offense when he gets his scissor hands on this thing in the years to come. My question is, when I do see giving up 238 yards on the ground combined with not being able to rush the passer, I mean, at least against Georgia, they were able to, stop the run a little bit and hold strong. What is this Auburn defense going to look like in the seasons to come under Hugh Freeze? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, David, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see better personnel I think what's happening we see this happen on teams is that, early in the year, how many times we see, all right, hey, the offense may not be great, but defensively we're really good. Let's just keep fighting and keep getting stops. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't have a ton of depth to begin with, but at some point and good, bad, or indifferent, you're dealing with human beings. It seeps in there that, man, we suck on offense. Mm-hmm. Like, we can come out here and get all these stops. And Auburn didn't get a ton of stops last night. But at some point, the realization of we're just not very good on offense. And if we get down by double digits, there's no way against a good team that we can come back. And Auburn right now, I don't know if that – I don't think that mentality has crept all the way through, but it just keeps building and building and building. That's why it's so impressive to see what Iowa does defensively every single week, knowing they're not going to. You talk about mental toughness, like that is next level mental toughness. But I think, at this point, you got guys at the end of the year who are realizing, hey, or halfway through the year, we're really bad on offense, and regardless of how well we play defensively, we're not going to be able to score enough, or if we're not perfect defensively, then we're not going to win.
And they're just on the field. When you're on the field all the time because an offense can't move the ball, it's like, man.
You can't move the ball against this LSU defense. I don't know who you're going to move it against.
I don't know if Auburn can score 30 points on air.
They're just bad. They're bad on offense. Just a bad offensive ball club. But it's year one. Look, it'd be different if this was year 4. Like if you're in year 4 and you're sitting here having this problem, that's a totally different situation. But this first year, the question is, how quick can you flip it? Can you go get the kid from Liberty at quarterback at Caden Salter? Can you go get Caden Salter? I don't know what his eligibility status is, but something's going to have to change. Walker White, are you going to let a true freshman come in here and try and play in the SEC in year 2? Is he good enough? It's just. Because I just explained, I don't know how you look at this and Peyton Thorne's your guy. I don't know. This is, again, he's turned down the smoke. He can't play in this league.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I knew this. Like, when you go back to that Michigan State, like, people are like, well, look what he did at Michigan State. Go look who's on that football team. All right? Go look who carried while Mel got that contract. There's 2 guys. I'll tell you why. It's not because of Peyton Thorne. Like, it's either him or Robbie Ashford. It's like, would you rather get stabbed to death or drowned?
Yeah. Are you going with Robbie the rest of the way, Blaine?
You got to.
Got to. Especially after that 4th down. Yeah. You got to,
probably go to Brian Brown.
And you got NIL money. How much NIL money did you get to run out of bounds a yard short on 4th down? It'd be in the contract. You're going to have to pay that NIL back.
He says, is this North Carolina team for real?
Yeah, I think they are.
Des Walker came back.
Des Walker, you want to know why Brown was so pissed? Here, let me turn the tape from last
man alive.
I mean, Drake May's got to be the happiest kid at the dance right now.
Mhm.
This game, I thought it was either going to go one of two ways. I thought what you'd have happen is Miami would show up, circle the wagons, get after them a little bit in the first half, and then the minute it started going bad, they would fall apart. Well, that's not really what happened. Miami had a horrible third quarter. If you really watch this game, right? North Carolina kind of jumped them in the first. They were feeling each other out. First date at the movies. Do we hold hands? Do I put my arm around you? Can we share these, snow caps? How are we getting down? Then the second quarter, Miami, you kind of saw them, right? They put up that 17 piece. Van Dyke was in rhythm, which, by the way, I mean, Tyler threw for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I know he had the 2 picks, but I mean, the only difference between him and Drake May was, Drake didn't turn it over and had scores. He did have 100 less receiving yards. But then that third quarter, North Carolina, you want to know when a team's good? When they make the right adjustments in the second half. And boy, that third quarter, they came out 21-0. Miami fought back. I got to give them credit that they didn't quit. They didn't lay down. But North Carolina 6-0, 3-0 in the conference. Louisville just lost. You don't play Florida State. Boys, now that Miami's 0-2 in the conference, it's starting to really, really look like Florida State and North Carolina in this ACC championship with no divisions. But yeah, how good is the defense, David? How good is the North Carolina?
That's what everybody's asking. But I'll tell you what, too, Miami on defense got to Drake May 5 times, 5 sacks there. I think 4 of them in the first half, which shows you it's even a more impressive stat when Drake May throws 4 TDs and no interceptions and got sacked 5 times. Compared to, we looked at Caleb Williams yesterday. Look, Caleb Williams is going to be the first overall pick. He's going to play football for a long, long time on Sundays. But the 3 interceptions are the result of those 5 or 6 sacks that Notre Dame was able to get to him. Drake May, despite the pressure on him, despite getting hurried and sacked, still didn't turn the football over through the air. That's very impressive. Look, I like this North Carolina team, and it shouldn't be a surprise. You got Mac Brown, who won a championship at Texas. You got Gene Chizik, who won a championship at Auburn. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and now you get a piece back like Des Walker, and they rushed for 235 yesterday. Look, formidable opponent for sure.
And they're kind of under the radar, right? So you got that chip on the shoulder thing you can always pull from that. You're kind of in that honey hole in that perfect spot. All right, man, let's rapid fire through this chat, dog.
All right, let's go to Austin Coons, Mr. Coons. $2 donation. He says, where was this Notre Dame team last week? It's a great question. Everybody was asking.
It's, again, this was the most shocking part about the loss to Louisville. It was that a mature team, an older team, right, that has a lot of leadership, didn't show up to play a road game against a team that could beat you. You saw what happens when a team shows up ready to play, and then when a team rolls their helmet out there thinking they're just going to big dog them. Now, I will go back and continue to say I think Notre Dame was pissed off, right? And you would much rather, as a coach, coming off a bad loss, every loss is bad, but maybe a loss against a team you either should have beat or a big game that you just lost, you would much rather have another big game that next week because it's easier to narrow that focus because you have a chance to kind of redeem yourself, right? Oh, no, you shouldn't have yelled at her over the phone, but hey, y'all are still hanging out later, so if you show up with flowers, maybe she won't be as pissed. But you always want that chance to redeem yourself quickly that night. Oh, no, I'm going to head over there to get you a box of chocolates. That's on me, right? I'm sorry, my parents are just upsetting me. You always want that chance to redeem yourself very quickly, and that's what they got. But you see the difference between a team that's ready to play and a team that just rolls their helmet out there.
I was going to Pokey Texan with the $5 donation. He says, fellas, y'all are great. You're great, Pokey. He says, we need to talk some Texas, Oklahoma sports next week. Look for my call. Go Oklahoma State. Dak is mid and fire Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah. Oh, we talked ton of Oklahoma, Texas, my friend.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. It's again Texas. Both of them had a bye week, I believe, coming off the Red River Shootout. And unless I'm mistaken, but here we go. It's setting up for that collision down the road. But right now, if you're Texas or Oklahoma, if you're any of these teams, right, that is vying for one of these last 4 spots that legitimately has a chance to get one of these last 4 spots, Louisville losing, huge for you, right? You didn't want that fly in the ointment at the end of the year. You can pretty much scratch them off. We'll see how it goes the rest of the ACC. USC losing, huge. even though it's not a conference game. That's one of the teams that was vying for one of those spots, right? So you're always looking at which team's gonna kind of blow it down the stretch. But a team I'm telling you to keep an eye on, guys, and I know they are a high brand team, right? That people shouldn't take their eyes off. This 2-loss LSU team, all right. The more, if you're looking at what Florida State's doing, right? Let's say Florida State runs the table, wins the ACC. It's looking like a hell of a loss. If LSU can find a way to beat Bama, I don't think they lose another game on their schedule. And then I think they could legitimately give Georgia a run for their money in that SEC championship game with this team. So if you're an LSU fan, you are unbelievably rooting for cannibalization in the Pac-12. Great to see U.S. You love seeing Washington and Oregon play each other because that's one loss, right? You're rooting for chaos. Can Utah beat Washington, right? And then Oregon to get that second loss? Because I'm looking at the Big Ten. Whoever wins the Big Ten East is coming out of there. I think we can go ahead and agree with that, right? I don't think that's some crazy thing to say between Michigan or Ohio State. They're going to the playoff. Somebody in the ACC, because if Florida State plays North Carolina, one team has to win. One team's going undefeated. You can pencil them in there. Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma winner, right? Big 12 championship. I mean, we'll see versus a Pac-12 champion that has one loss. But does a 2-loss SEC team with a win over maybe Georgia, who's ranked number 1 during conference championship week,
it's going to be spicy.
We talked about that scenario, David.
We did.
We talked about that scenario.
We talked about that exact scenario.
I was going to Q Smo Jimbo, $5 donation. Watching my fellows here from Crane Company before going to tailgate at the Bills Stadium to witness some Sunday night football. Let's go Bills. Who the Bills got today? I can't remember.
I think they got the
Jets, maybe. Hold on, I'm going to guess the Jets. I think. Nope. Oh, they host the Giants. The Giants tonight.
Wow.
Yeah. By the way, Ravens up 15-3 over the Titans right now, going into halftime.
Gotta stop doing this, man.
I hate that we do this.
Stealing a Nashville home game from us.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Pitt too, man. Shout out to Pitt yesterday.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's a huge win for Pitt.
Shut out Louisville in the second half. How about this? How about Louisville loses at Pitt, then Maryland loses at home against Illinois?
I don't know. College football is insane.
It's just insane.
It's just college football is dyslexic.
I love
it. It is dyslexic.
I was going to Bradley LeGraw with a $5 donation. Thank you, B-Rad. Just got the Fredonia Hillbillies shirt to send y'all. Can't wait. Thanks for making this best sports show out there. Go Bills. Huddle up, Giants. The
Hillbillies. What a great match. We've talked about the Ghost Pirates, the Hillbillies. I mean, you know what we should do? We should come up with what, like, all the SEC schools' mascots should be for where they're at. We should do that. And then do it for the ACC. And then do it for the Big Ten. We should do that. It'd be fun. Like, mascots need to be named, and the NFL does a great job of this, of something where you're at. And those are Tigers roaming around Auburn, Alabama. Right, I've seen Eagles. Right, we can go with that. That's great. The War Eagles, I love that. I'm a fan of that. There's no elephants riding it. Don't say it, Blaine. Roaming around Tuscaloosa. My wife's from there. Don't say it. All right.
You didn't go to Alabama.
I know, but she's from Tuscaloosa. Just easy on that.
Okay.
Easy on that, Blaine.
Yeah. Easy on that, Blaine.
Didn't even say anything, but easy on that. Yeah.
Hey, Blaine. Easy on that.
Okay.
Take it easy,
Corey
man.
Stones, a fellow Jags fan. Says it's great to be a Gator this morning. It is, I bet. Now my Jags need to reciprocate the action today to make my weekend amazing. That's a $5 donation from Corey. Big trust, Corey.
I'm not sure. Hey, by the way, guys, I told you taking the Chiefs survivor pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday night. Way to live.
Hold on. I got to tell you who I still got, though. I got to tell you who I still got. Keep going to the chat line. I'm going to pull it up.
All right, let's go to Matt Farmer with a $10 donation. 3 weeks in a row, I've taken some of y'all's locks. Teased them all, most as far as they'll go. Usually ends up even money and won. So thank you. You tease them.
My locks didn't hit, man. UCLA, Oregon State just decided to have a shootout with each other.
Yeah, I went 1-1.
Yeah, I went 1-1. I hit the Ohio State -19, which is like stealing. We screamed it all week. And then South Carolina -2.5. You can't give up the tip pass. You give up the tip pass. I will say, though, covering the SMU TTP, that was because I knew they were going to take one back from me at some point. The gods always do. All right, so I picked the Chiefs. We're going into week 7. All right, The only top teams I've picked are the Niners and the Chiefs now. So, man, I've still got going into next week. I've got Bills at the Patriots. I mean, the Bills, you wouldn't think they're bad there. The Eagles are hosting the Dolphins. Ooh, not touching that. It's coming. It's nut cutting time, boys. Like it for real is. I may have to go Bills at Patriots, right? Don't you think?
Bills. I thought the Bills were playing the Jets.
Bills are playing the Giants.
Next week. I'm good this week.
Yeah. You already had the Chiefs. Yeah.
I took them on Thursday night. Got it out the way.
All right, let's go to Tyrese with a $2 donation. He says, "Hey, Blanye, did Mama run off when you shot it?" What you talking about those deer back here? Yeah, my buddy Willis is an avid hunter. He goes and gets them. Let's go to Football Fossil, $10 donation. It says, ranked teams in Colorado. Here's my list. Number 1, Air Force. 2, Colorado State. 3, Ore Diggers. 4, the Buffs.
I would say Air Force 1. Air Force may go undefeated, boys. I'd say Air Force 1.
Put them in, cowards.
I'd say 12-team playoff. I'd say Colorado 2 because they did beat Colorado State. By the way, did you see the end of that Colorado State Boise game?
No,
I didn't know.
You need to go watch that. Colorado State's played some crazy games. I'd say Colorado State 3. I would say the School of Mines 4, which doesn't like the first time they said, "Oh yeah, the Colorado School of Mines." Like I didn't realize it was Mines.
Gifted kids.
Mines. I thought it was like I was like, is that like the mutant school? Is that where
it makes girl came from? Like you walk up there, like kids are just eating Eggos in the woods.
Well, it's like Cinderella. It's like, why is the kitchen cleaning itself?
Yeah,
like I don't understand.
Did you see the new helmets for the school the deaf kids play?
So, David, don't do that.
I'm serious. They ran a commercial yesterday from AT&T, and I saw a link earlier in the week. It has a eyeglass in front where the coach can send in on the iPad the play, and the hard of hearing kids can see the play, and they like have it for their schools. It's awesome.
Okay, that's dope.
How do blind people know what time of day it is outside?
You have a rhythm, like an internal rhythm.
Well, Blaine, I don't know if they just put their ears to the ground and they listen for how many revolutions the Earth is making.
I don't know.
You didn't know that?
I thought about that. Wow. No, I didn't. I was going to Chase Mills with a $5 donation, but do it my whole life, buddy. It says Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Oregon all has their coach leave in 21. Those coaches are now at LSU, USC, and Miami. Just some food for thought.
Yeah, look, it's the ebb and flow, right? But you again, circumstantially, Mario Cristobal going home to Miami, I get that.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's like a lot of these people are like, oh, well, you know, I'm never going back where I grew up. And the first thing you do when you retire is go back to where you grew up. Like at some point, you know, when mama calls, like you answer. Most guys answer at least. So I think it's one thing with Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma to go to USC, and then it's another thing with Mario Cristobal leaving Oregon to go to Miami. You know, it's like Kanye said on South Park, "I'm going home, y'all."
He's going home, y'all. It's $5 donation. CG87343. Don't want to stay too long on this. He says, "What does Auburn need to do in order to turn this around? Seems to me they need a total house cleaning. Offense is terrible. Defense is meh. QB, what QB?
You need time. I mean, that's what you need. I mean, it was going to be like this, right? Maybe, you know, it's a little bit uglier at some points than what you thought, but I think the coaching staff, this collective coaching staff needs more time. Now, if this is a problem once they have their personnel in there, right, are just not half and half, okay, like what you put in your coffee, then that's another discussion. But I think it's very knee-jerk in year one, even with what Prime had been able to do at Colorado up to this point, to sit here and say, oh, you need to be fired because this isn't working. Like, again, this does take time. I think this is a lot of it to do as a personnel thing. I'll give you a hint. There's been a lot of really smart coaches that look like idiots because they didn't have good enough players. There's also been a lot of really dumb coaches that look like geniuses because they had the players. If you have a complain about missing Peyton Thorne in the portal. I don't think there is a way to go out there in this Auburn offense to average 40 points a game. I think it's impossible. I don't think they got good enough players. You missed on the quarterback in the portal. You don't have a legitimate quarterback right now. You don't have a legitimate wide receiver room. Those two things change. This team changes.
I was going to Q Smo, Jimbo, $10 donation. Last donation here. Says, at least you guys have the right coach and are diagnosing the issues within players. We at Q's have a culture problem coming from the top. Our offensive play calling was horrendous against Florida State. Florida State was, I think, a 17.5-point favorite in that game.
Yeah, I think Syracuse, didn't they lose a nigh to NC State, their OC? Because I know he like reunited with Brendan Armstrong, the quarterback who transferred from Virginia to NC State. He's not even playing right now for NC State anymore. But it seems like Syracuse does the same thing every year. You guys are like really good at the beginning, and then you just Post Malone fall apart halfway through. So look, what Syracuse happy with, right? Is Syracuse, is it one of those 8 wins, right? Like 8 wins, great job, guys. Cusmo Jimbo, only you know the answer to that. You're tied in with the fan base. But anything else college football wise, you guys, before we get to this NFL slate?
Good, solid.
Go.
All right. Well, let's hop in here. The Ravens are up 15-3. They're driving close to midfield against the Titans in, Walla Walla Land, wherever they're playing this week. I'm guessing it's London, the international series. So that's obviously not going to be one of the bets today. But Commanders at the Falcons. Falcons 1.5-point favorite. Over under is 42.5. How are you feeling on that one?
I'm not betting against the Falcons at home ever again. Apparently, Desmond Ridder doesn't lose at home, and Young Wei Koo just comes out there and just says, "Hey, game over."
Yeah, he is way cute. Like Bijan's a man.
Yeah, he is.
I saw this dude catch a pass with one arm behind his back while juking somebody. Then went and scored.
Yeah, he's an everything player. He's just one of those everything players. I'm with you. I like the Falcons at home. It's the way the Commanders have looked on offense here lately. Sam Howell seems to be kind of like that guy from Split. So yeah, it's tough to bet against the Falcons at home. Vikings at the Bears. Vikings 3-point favorite. Over under is 44. God, I like the over in this one.
How about give me the Bears, man? I mean, isn't Justin Jefferson out several weeks? Kirk Cousins is having conversations about whether or not he's going to waive his no trade clause. I don't know. Maybe the Bears figure it out 2 weeks in a row. What do you say?
Man, I don't think it's a bad bet. I'm probably rolling with the Bears as well. I like the over too.
Yeah, I like that over 44 even without Justin Jefferson. Seahawks at the Bengals. Bengals 3-point favorites at home. Over under 45.5. Joey B looked healthy last week. Looked healthy last week. Jamar Chase 3 touchdowns. Are they back, Blaine?
Gosh, of course I played against Jamar Chase the 1 week he goes off in fantasy at like 56 points. But I like the Bengals in this game. I think they're starting to come along. I think T. Higgins needs to start getting more involved. These Boyd. Let's remember.
Is he back from the injury yet?
I don't know if he's back. But like, do you want to talk about a guy who had a phenomenal career who doesn't get talked enough? Is that man right there? He's been a staple at the Bengals. But give me the Bengals. I like the Bengals in this game. I think Geno makes a couple mistakes.
You said when Georgia played Kentucky, Jake, that this is the week we find out what Georgia's going to be for the rest of the season. I think the same thing right now about the Bengals. How they play against the Seahawks today at home will dictate how they play the rest of the season. This could get you to 500. This could move you to 2-4. I really don't know. I'll take the Seahawks with a couple points, but to win the football game, let's see. I believe in the Bengals.
I love it. All right, 49ers at the Browns. No Deshaun Watson, I'm guessing, unless y'all have heard different.
I'm pretty sure he's out.
Heard he was out again.
Yeah, so the Niners are -9.5. Over under is 36. Why do I want to take the Niners -9.5?
Who's the quarterback for the? Who's going to be the
DTR.
starter? Who? DTR. God, you know what? I'd probably take Niners 9.5 and the under.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if the Browns are going to be able to score.
Yeah, but do the 49ers, I mean, could this be like
the Browns defense is good.
Yeah.
This can't be like a 31-7 game?
Oh, it could, but I think it's a 24-3, 24-6 type of game.
We'll see. Panthers at the Dolphins. Dolphins -14. Over under is 47.5. And why would I not take the over?
Just because the Dolphins will score that much?
I think the Dolphins score at least 35. And I actually think that the Panthers will put up double digits in this game.
Yeah, and the Panthers, like the mistakes the Panthers are making, they're not like, oh, God threw a bad pass behind a guy. Well, you're supposed to slant this. They're like, oh, we threw a pick six. Oh, it's a fumble, scoop, and score.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, this guy who had the under in the Lions-Panthers game last week, it was nothing but final destination mistakes.
Yeah,
so I would like the Dolphins and probably the over.
I like the Dolphins.
Yeah, God, do I just buy that down to 13.5 and ride with the fear?
All
right, Colts at the Jags. Jags 4-point favorite. Over under is 44. Obviously, Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
The Colts. Watch me not touch it.
Gardner Minshew against his old team, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Give me the Jags at
baby.
home.
Give me the Jags. Coming out party.
Coming out.
We're here to stay.
All right, we'll see. Saints at the Texans. Saints 1.5-point favorite. Over under is 42.5. Saints absolutely pantsed the Patriots last weekend, but Houston, D'Amico Ryans.
I like Houston in this game.
I'm going to take the Texans money line 3 weeks in a row. Didn't work out for me last week when the Falcons kicked that game-winning field goal, but 30-6 over the Steelers a couple of weeks ago. They did go on the road, beat the Jags 37-13. I'm going to keep – I think Vegas continues to undervalue the Texans a little bit, so I'm going to keep taking them.
I'm rolling with you.
All right. We'll see. See if Derek can drive the car. Patriots at the Raiders. Raiders, 3-point favorites. Why am I not buying this down to 2.5? The over-under is 41. Not touching that.
This game.
Give me the Raiders minus 2.5, Blaine.
Where's it at? Is that the Raiders?
Yeah.
No, yeah,
Man,
Is that the Raiders? Well, yeah, I would take that. Well, it depends on who's starting quarterback. Look, if Bailey Chapela gets in there for the Patriots, like you never know. Bailey can freak out. All right, but if it's Mac Jones, hey teacher, you didn't take up our homework, Jones, then yeah, I'd probably go with the Raiders.
I'm flexing the Raiders defense this week in fantasy just because the Patriots. I heard a Dolphins fan called me yesterday. He was talking about Bill Belichick. He said Bill Belichick used to be Captain America. Now he's the captain of the Titanic. That's a Dolphins fan taking shots like that, man.
That's tough. Cardinals at the Rams. Rams 7-point favorite. Over under 47.5. Like the Rams here, right?
I agree.
Is Aaron Donald going to eat Josh Dobbs? That's the biggest question.
Josh Dobbs just looks like.
I like Josh Dobbs.
I do too. Just like he moves stuff with his mind. It freaks me out.
Yeah. Speaking of the school of minds. All right. Eagles at the Jets. The Eagles are 6.5-point favorites. Over under is 42.5. Under?
Is this another one of those like ugly road games for Philly that they just still win?
I think so, but the question is like, how do the points add up to over 43 or not? 43 or over or not? That's the real question.
God, the Eagles are. Oh my God! Why would I just not hammer this? 6.5.
The Eagles minus 6.5.
They've had some ugly road games though, man.
Who's not playing?
I'm not seeing anything.
Is Slade Jr. playing?
I'm not seeing anything drastic.
Okay, Jalen Carter's out. Darius Slay's out.
Okay, I knew Jalen was out.
Okay,
but they got D. Lyman for days.
I would take the Eagles in this game. I know it's a big number and it feels like a big number, but like sooner or later, they're gonna get to Zach. They're gonna get to him.
Yeah. Well, Zach's gonna make that mistake.
Yeah.
David, what do you think?
I like the Eagles to win the football game. I'm leaning towards the under if I'm going to take something in this game. Though.
I am too. Just take your time. All right, last two. Lions at the Bucks. Lions are 3-point favorites. Can't wait not to bet this one.
Baby. This is a sneaky good one, man.
Yeah, can't wait to not bet this.
Wagon. Lions are a wagon this year, baby. We're rolling with them.
How about the Bucks though? 3-1 at home. Baker's your boy.
Cool story. So is Hansel and Gretel until she got arrested for B&E. Give me Jeff, the gumball smuggler, Dan Campbell, who's obviously on test, and J-Mo running around a little bit. Give me the Lions.
This is more than just about the Lions having good offensive personnel. And I remember when Matt Stafford was throwing the ball to Calvin Johnson, we thought it was the greatest combination we've ever seen. And yet they were still losing football games. There is a cultural difference. There's a mindset difference in Detroit now. I think this Lions team is legitimate.
Someone said, I saw a TikTok, or someone says Aiden Hutchinson runs like Wario. Y'all remember who Wario is? Like,
yeah,
Mario,
yeah. Does he? I can't remember how.
Dude, like, it's so funny. He does. He runs just like him. He's
just good.
That one time when you said he's just over in the side, like eating mud, and they're like, "Aiden, stop! Like, stop eating mud."
Aiden, down it.
Oh man!
All right, last one. Giants at the Bills. Bills 15-point favorite. Over under is 43.5. What?
Hey, look, only thing I know is this, all right? Daniel 15? Jones is out.
Yeah.
All right? Tyrod Taylor's in there. Tyrod can freak out sometimes now.
Over?
He can. 15.5's a lot.
In a good way?
In a good way, yes. Well, a good and bad way.
Yeah. Bills.
Give or take.
Bills.
Over 43.5, what do
Giants
you think?
Cover.
I'll take the Bills to cover.
Giants cover.
That's a lot of points. We'll see. All right, let's get to the Booster Club and then get on up out of here.
Man, that's all the donations for today, so we're solid. Great day, great day today, chat. Austin Coons will have a talk Monday when the Colts win. Yeah, look, you can go ahead and apologize now if you need to. That's fine. Great day, Joe. Good job, chat. Good weekend.
Yep. All right. Well, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. We're going to catch y'all live in the morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. That's 6:30 a.m. Central. Going to be recapping everything, previewing another big week. It never ends. Well, it does eventually, unfortunately. But right now, we're in the thick of it. So let's enjoy it and get this. We appreciate you guys. Check you in the morning. Encouragement. Boom. See you guys.